we're going to talk about the perception of trading and kind of like the viewpoint. So I have a question. So from like the outside in, like how would you view yourself for a person that doesn't know nothing about trading when they could actually come and sit down and look at it and you're telling them the potential that this is life changing, but we both know it's more deeper.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of work that gets put into to becoming an actual trader. I think the original perception when someone hears about Forex or hears about the rewarding side of it is they hear the certain parts of it because the main question that people get asked as traders are, well, how much money do you make?
Yeah.
Right? So not that that's a valid question that people should be asking, but they definitely want to see the success side, but that's what tends to drive people on the outside.
Yeah.
You know, understanding that it's a whole skill is not known from the outside. It's a whole different world when you start pulling up TradingView and learning how to, you know, actually mark up charts and stuff like this, and the hours you have to put in it can become crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I know, you know, from your side and my side both, we put in a lot of hours for it. You know, and trading for what, 4 years now. What would you say on your side? How many hours a day would you be putting into this?
Honestly, like in my personal opinion, like I would say like, well, let's just be real. Like, you know, when I was, you know, working a job part time, I would have sacrificed at least half of the time. So basically half of the day, you know, like I would be trying to learn a skill set, you know, knowing that this is a long-term game. Like you have to have sacrifice, you know, for this. And I knew that it's not something that you're just going to learn up in 1 second, or you finally have something that finally clicks. Like you're going to have trials and errors over and over and over again. But that's where like the mindset comes in and actually telling yourself, look, like you are going to fail. Until you learn to embrace those failures, you're never going to be the kind of successful trader that you want to be or the type of life that you want to have. So like sacrifice is crucial. If you're not willing to sacrifice, then are you really willing to become the best of the best within yourself?
What personal things have you sacrificed to become where you're at right now?
Sacrifice, you know, going out, turning up with, you know, all my friends, guys, you know, meeting new people. Sometimes even family, like, you know, like I was really becoming very antisocial. Like, you know, like I'll be in like different settings. Like, you know, for example, if I'm going out and I'm like, look, this is not giving me any revenue. This is not going to enhance what I want. You know, like I don't want to see other people progressing and I'm over here being distracted on being elsewhere. So that is like what I really sacrifice, you know, and I was done with school, you know, like I didn't want to work for someone. Like I did it.
So there's the two things that I could touch on where I can kind of feel you on that. You don't want to work for anybody else. You want to do your own thing. Currently, I'm still working a 9 to 5. So when you're talking about sacrifice, I'm working the 9 to 5. Plus I come home and I may have a couple hours, and either I'm on my way up here to the office or I'm at home on the charts looking at possible London session setups or whatever it may be. So then comes in the second step where it's like I'm sacrificing my family. You know, there's been many times I've heard from my fiance where she's like, babe, when can we, you know, have some time? And I'm like, I'm trying to make a better life for us by putting in this work and putting in this time. If we could sacrifice this right now, in the next couple of years, 3-4 years or whatever it may be, it's not going to be like this right now. It's that boot camp type situation. I look at it like if I go into the Army and I go into boot camp, I got to put in a couple of years, right? I got to put in that extra hard work. That's what this actually is. It's the training session. It's the highs, it's the lows. And when you talk about taking losses, you're going to lose, but as a trader, we don't take losses. We take lessons, right? So they're paid lessons in a way. And that just makes you every time you have one, that makes you a better trader the next day and the day after and the day after. You might lose 40 pips on one day, but then if you can lose 30 the next day, you've gained 10 pips there. So either way, you're improving, and it's those lessons from the day before that are going to turn around and make you who you're going to end up being as long as you stick with it. So not only is there sacrifice, but I think there's a lot of dedication that has to be put into it. You have to be with a blueprint to say, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to get there. You know, so not a lot of people understand that from the outside. It's kind of interesting talking to individuals that are like, what is Forex?
Yeah, and that's something like I really kind of like admire you, because like, you know, when I first met you, you were like the kind of dude that just like, all right, you know, I'm gonna learn, you know, what is the next stepping stone? You know, like you already had that clear mindset that this is something that could actually impact and give me more value in my life, you know, the things that I truly want to accomplish, using this as a vehicle, and seeing the fact that you never complain. Like I've never met a person that lives in the boonies out of nowhere and then comes out here consistently, time out, day in, and it's just like, contact you if you could do this, no problem. Like it was no hesitation. You know, rather from like new people trying to learn a skill set, and they're like, oh, all right, you know, I seen this person make 100K in a day, I'm gonna do it too. No, you don't know what that person actually went through to get to that stepping stone. You know, the sacrifices, you know, the long nights, applying the skill set over and over, able to fail and actually being transparent, because in this niche we don't see a lot of transparency. You know, we see the glory, the fame, the excitement behind it of the vehicle that we're a part of, but there's like no transparency. You know, like I've kind of showed it many times, losing huge amounts over and over, you know, but that is the way to kind of like separate yourself from everyone else, you know.
Well, and I think that's what kind of separates Blue Capital Academy, you know, from anything. Individual traders that do their own telegrams or any other services that are out there, is that we don't necessarily sugarcoat a lot of things. If you're going to get into this, you have to understand that there's a value to it, and there are going to be those lessons, right? So for me personally, I understood that going in. I may not have understood everything, you know, but coming into a year now, in fact, it's a year exactly this Friday that I started trading live.
And that's powerful.
Right.
A year in.
And I'm like, wait, the stones that I had to step on to get to this point, and there's only more to do. Yeah. You know, but I'm the age that I'm at, I'll be 36 this coming month. So I'm behind a lot of people that are trying to sign up and start trying to get into this industry, where for me, I have no choice but to kind of go hard or go home. Where, you know, some people want to see, you know, a couple thousand being made. They want to go out, buy a couple bottles, whatever it may be, right? Do that if that's okay, but make sure that you can make it up the next week. Rather, if you're not going to save it, make it up. You know, you have to have some form of a plan like that. Yeah. Turn up as much as you want, but pay your bills first. And that's for me, like paying a mortgage, paying, you know, my electricity bill, my car notes, both of them. It's like I don't have any room to fail to where I can sit here and say, well, I'll turn up, it's no big deal. No, I don't have time for that anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so that sacrifice I always kind of felt from the beginning for myself, like if I sacrifice this much right now and go hard, it's just going to be prosperous in the end. You know, to where I'll be really consistent. You know, I'm still in learning phases. I'm still, you know, learning things every day. I think everybody does within Forex. Every day is a learning day, right? Markets could turn on any drop of a dime. So, you know, learning those type of things and those type of niches within the charts and the currencies, staying up on news. I don't think I've ever watched news as much as I do now. Yeah. Staying up on Market Watch and CNBC and Bloomberg. Like, shout out to all those guys, because there's a lot of information that's out there that can be the vehicle to get into this vehicle. You know, so it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, it's honestly, like, when going back to the topic of, you know, the sacrifice, like, you know, because I feel like a lot of people really lack into the fact is that, yeah, you know, we have all these news channels and they, you know, they talking about, the country or the economy's conditions, but like, those little factors do kind of play a role too. Like, like you go from having your typical channel of, for example, watching MTV, all your little habits, they all accumulate to what is going to add into being the best of the best. Like try, reading, that's kind of related to the topic, watching, the news channels, have Bloomberg as your favorite channel, like we have the amount of resources that you actually could apply
Absolutely.
to becoming a better trader, and if you really take this seriously, who knows, you could start building your own portfolio, start building out your own clientele. So like we are in a source, especially in our country, where a lot of people have capital, but realistically a lot of people are lazy to use that capital. And that's why I find this skill set so powerful, because there's so many different revenues that you could actually apply this and have multiple streams come within the same platform, so, and just having the sacrifice of just, willing to do all the stuff that is not going to give you anything at the end to giving you a bigger reward, long-term picture.
Well, and the funny thing is, I think a lot of people look at this and they're like, "This is going to be my main job,"
Yeah.
right? Where
Yeah.
you and I we can look at each other and say,
Yeah.
"No, this is just a stepping stone to get." Like, I want my own food truck, right?
Yeah.
You have your plans that you have going on, right? To where it's kind of interesting when I watch and I take a look at these things. I can hear people talking about the economy, but yet they're so misunderstood because they're not involved. So I think a second layer to, as far as benefit for learning Forex and learning the currency exchange, is learning where our actual economy is at.
Yeah.
Being that this is recession proof, you and I can look at each other and be like, well, the US dollar is going to become extremely weak right now, and nobody out there is going to know that.
Nope.
So it gives you more skill, not even just being able to trade, but also to the fact of knowing where our economy is at and understanding where the value of the dollar, that even if you're just working a 9 to 5, what that value is.
Yeah.
And if that value is going down, ask yourself, is it worth working this 9 to 5, or can I invest into doing something else, like actually trading the money that I'm in?
Yeah.
And I think a commonality within where people are currently like mentally at is with banks.
Yeah.
They don't understand that banks do the same thing that we're doing, and
Yeah.
they're trading their own money.
And when I heard that logic, I was like, wow. So you're telling me that our hard-earned money is actually being traded within the market, and we're only getting like, at least like 4 to 5% return for a whole year, 365 days. And this is like information that is not taught in school. This is information that you're going to have to find elsewhere, right? And the fact is that like a lot of people trust their banks so much, but like they're not telling you everything in the back end.
Nope.
Like
There's
if
some
they
secrets.
actually told you that in person, because people don't know, banks is still a business at the end of the day. You go downtown, it's the most biggest building. I always ask myself why.
Yep. Chase, Wells
And,
Fargo,
they
Bank of America.
they make the most money, and it's just like, just because of all of our transactions of putting our funds, and they're like, thank you, let's go make more money.
So
So-
this industry has been around since the 70s,
Yeah.
right? But try and tell somebody within Generation X or even any baby boomers, anybody that's in like an older element,
Yeah.
try telling them that this is what happens, and they're like, no, I don't believe it, because it's hard to believe that someone's going to take advantage of you as much as banks do. So I think that's where millennials and the millennial drive is becoming huge in this,
Yeah.
because they believe everything at this point. They believe that people can take advantage of you. It's happened. People are out for themselves these days, and they
Yep.
understand, if I can do it to you, the banks can do it to me.
Yep.
So I think that there's a bigger trust within the Forex market to become so financially independent, so they don't have to rely on everybody else
Yeah.
or rely on a 9 to 5. But like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of work that has to get put into this. It's just, how hard do you want to work?
Yeah, it's like I always like to preach this along that, like when it comes to trading, it's an art form. Like we all know Picasso, and we all know these great artists that they didn't just come up with a design of art overnight. Like
Right.
it was a long process, stressful. You know, if this color actually went with this color, you know, could relate? How could they extract from it? Like, you know, just breaking it down, terms after terms. And that's how I look at it when I look at the charts, you know. When you're looking at the charts, it's you, your broker account, and what you're looking at. And that's it. All that outside noise, the distractions is gone. You know, so you're not listening to anyone. You're not listening to anyone's technical analysis. You're trusting your own and what you see. And if you could break down on what you see and keep performing that skill, it's gonna get sharpened. You know, and you're gonna be able to be like, all right, perfect. I could actually dive into this chart. I know where this trend is going. I know when to enter. Learning not to be greedy, because that is our ultimate downfall.
Well, and speaking of being an artist, like, I mean, we can look at charts all day, and by the time you have your support, you have your resistance, right? You have all your little markups. When that trade hits TP, hits take profit because of that markup, there goes your Mona Lisa right there.
Yeah.
That's your
That's
perfect
it.
picture. You know? So your little scratch ones are the ones that hit stop loss, but
Yeah.
you know, when you hit take profit, there goes a masterpiece. You know, you hit take profit on the US 30 or on a Ripple trade that, you know, captures a couple thousand pips. There goes your Sistine Chapel, you know,
Yeah.
like there goes your masterpieces.
Yeah.
And we, you know, the whole thing, I think with our position with Blue Capital is we want there to be as many Michelangelos and Leonardos, not Ninja Turtles, but, you know, those artists that are out there, your Picassos, Da Vinci's, all those, right? So I think that's where we differentiate from a lot of other areas that people can learn from.
Yeah.
That personal attention, you know, creating those artists, teaching them. Not every artist just woke up and said, hey, I'm going to get a paintbrush, right? So
Yeah, that's true.
they have
Very
to have
true.
somebody that led them that way. And, you know, just learning and seeing your charts, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would remember being up watching those charts on live, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you could frame this thing. Especially the day they hit oil on Christmas.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was really wild. Like you, just being on Zoom and witnessing like, just calling it out.
The
Like,
countdown
it was
was
a countdown.
amazing.
It was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Boom.
I think it was
Take
what,
profit.
Take Profit 3 just got smashed. I forgot. It was almost for like 244 pips, I think.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And it was just like, damn, like, this is really fun when you could actually look at your MetaTrader 4 and be like, damn, this is blue.
Yep.
Like, this is the only color I want to see. Like, if it's anything else, no. You know, like, I see red, it's cool. But in that's when the emotion comes in. And where a lot of people get so scared and attached to the money, they're like, oh, man, like, if I held this, if I, you know, not looked at my phone. Like, you know, there's different ways to kind of look at it to take away that. But yeah, that's where the whole mindset plays in.
Emotion is huge, and I think we should save emotion for the next topic, because I think that's something that we could talk about for a while, because everybody gets it. Everybody understands, and I think when people listen to, you know, us talking about emotion, their heads are going to be bobbing up and down. Yes, I know it. I understand. I get it, right? But, you know, it's just that's the trenches to get through. You know, things that you need to learn. So learning to have no emotion, or at least somewhat emotion, just to make good choices. But, you know, understanding, I think, as far as the initial ground laying brick, is to understand that if you're going to get into this, you got to be all in or not in at all, because you can't half-ass it at all. You got to do it all.
So true. Like, you know, you got to look at this as, no, like, you got to look at it as you being like MJ that's on the free throw line. You know, it's either you make it and you win the championship game, you miss it, guess what? It's a lesson, right? So then you improve for that next following year. So that's another way to actually look at it. You know, if you want to be the best, you got to keep applying, you know, the skills and then performing that skill set and living the life that you truly want to live. So, like, and that just really, it comes around in circle. You know, it's like you're not trying to be the best. You want to compete within yourself. You know, like, you want to give yourself that shoulder on the back and be like, man, like, I really have a skill set that not only that I learned how to trade, but I could actually give to my generations, further down the tree line.
Yep.
And that is the most powerful gift that you could actually give anyone.
Well, nobody can take it away from you, for one. And two, how we were talking about the economy. If the economy ever fails and how this is recession-proof, you know that you're going to be safe.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be safe. They always want a safety net. They always want that parachute. If you put your time and energy and effort into it, this could be that.
Yeah, that's very true. Because I know there was countless of times when I struggled and when I had no car, had to sell my car, and, to actually get funds for my mom, because I was taking care of my mom within myself, walking to Walmart and getting food. And what I was doing is I trapped myself in my own room and was just trading and try to pay my own rent and this and that. So I was giving whatever that I can due to the skill set, and I was really grateful for that. Like I didn't want to, revert back to what everyone else is doing. You could have, got a job and start a whole foundation, and then when you're ready, you could quit. But like in our generation, it becomes such a cycle that people keep forgetting that there's other opportunities. If you actually just stick the course and sacrifice whatever that you have, everything is gonna pay out. And if everyone else did that, then we will see a lot more successful people not only enriching their mindset, but learning how to adapt change, sacrifice, controlling their emotions outside when it comes to trading.
Yeah, but overall, it is hard, because if it wasn't hard, everybody would be doing it. So it would be just the way. Yeah. But I think everybody's in the same process every day. I got to get up for my 9 to 5. Got to get up for this. Got to get up for that. Right. And that's the unfortunate mindset that I had been in prior to the past year.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I'm behind a lot of minds that are getting into Forex, because I can't necessarily afford to quit my 9 to 5 yet without saying, okay, is there going to be a little bit of a struggle there? I don't want to be able to do that. I want to be able to get myself straight, get my business going, and then say, okay, now it's time to do this. But that comes with the understanding that, hey, it's not going to be overnight. A lot of people want to do that. I want to make $1 million in one night. London session could be moving crazy. I could be trading GJ, Lambo lots, right?
Yeah.
How many times have we heard it? And what ends up happening? Oh, sorry, I can't trade tonight because my MetaTrader 4 is broke. Yeah,
that's very facts. All right, so how could you relate from as you're saying that, working for PayPal and having that, that 9 to 5 background, how can you relate to everyone else that wants to learn the skill set, but they just feel like they're just giving too many excuses? They probably, for example, we see people, they know about it, right? And then they just watch and watch and watch and watch until they probably have all the facts that everyone else is doing it. So and then they try it, and then they just all of a sudden give up. So even though you still have revenue coming in consistently and being dependent on it, but how can you relate to the audience, for the people that are just watching from the background that want to take action?
So me personally, I'm about accountability, 100%, right? Yeah. So I hold myself accountable to say, am I going to make this what I need it to be? Yeah. And am I going to put that effort in, and am I going to do what I can to succeed, right? You can't see the world unless you buy a bus or plane ticket and get on that bus or plane, right? So if you want to learn this and you just let it pass you by, then unfortunately that's you coming short for yourself. Yeah. So if you don't want to come up short for yourself or for your family, and it's this is a great opportunity for me, and I understand the ins and outs, as far as I understand that there's a high risk. I understand that there's a lot of hard work put into it. Well, how hard are you willing to work yourself? And if you can point yourself in the mirror and say, you're going to work this hard, and you can tell yourself, and you can self-motivate, over time, over every day, wake up in the morning, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. At some point, you're going to get to the point where it's just going to be normal routine, but that first step is huge. There is a huge fear for me that either I'm going to fail at this and I'm going to take my hours away from my normal job.
Yeah.
Right. And there were days where I would go into that job on 1 hour of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I would be able to make my calls, do my job. Right. But when I would get home, I would sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep. So that sacrifice for me physically for a couple of times was sleep.
Yeah.
There were days I went into work on no sleep. Right. So understanding that sacrifice as we go back to that topic, but then also saying, okay, I can't be afraid of what this step is going to take me if I fail at it, and I'm going to give it. I'm going to fail the best I can, right? So if I'm going to fail, I'm going to give it 150%, and if I fail, that means this just was not meant for me. But at least I didn't cheat myself out of that opportunity.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to take that extra step, that leap of faith, and say, hey, I'm going to be able to do this. Although I still have to understand that I'm going to be working a 9 to 5, paying bills with that, and then just kind of taking it day by day. Every day is a new struggle, so to say. I might be extremely tired one day, or I might have lost a couple trades the night before. So then you have, again, your emotions, this, that, and the other. So it's like, well, am I afraid of all this? Because like I said, you can't see the world unless you take that leap and get on that airplane and get on that bus, take that trip. You're going to miss everything. So if you're willing to miss your life being improved, if you're willing to miss your dreams coming true by putting in this work, then by all means, that's up to you. Me, I chose otherwise.
Yeah.
So speaking to those that are maybe afraid, I get it. I understand 100%, but it's not going to do the work for you.
Yeah. And that's very true because, everyone is afraid to fail. For the highly proud people that won't admit it, but everyone's afraid to fail, and that's completely normal. And I feel like any opportunity that you want to partake in to enhance your life, you're gonna have to fail. It's just part of the process and taking things to the whole next level. So I could definitely completely relate. With all the late nights, sacrificing on sleep, now even sleeping at work. Probably almost even getting fired, because I could relate. I got fired 11 times from my job, so I couldn't keep a job for my life because it just wasn't my passion. I wanted more instead of being limited. Right. And that's where all my failures came from, and it became my biggest motivation. So when I tell people, look, you guys are complaining about your current job, I couldn't even keep a job for 11 times. I got more excited for my last paycheck than my current one. So it was just man, I'm happy. I'm getting a paycheck, So but what I was doing with that paycheck, I was reinvesting into myself, funding my broker's account and, making my wins, flipping accounts and losing it and then doing it all over again. I felt like I was hitting my own lotto machine to my broker's account. Yep. So, and, got lucky, made some, lost it, and then kept doing it again. But, it's a powerful skill set, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So
the funny thing is people get into the monotonous movement of getting up, like I said, and going to your 9 to 5 every day, right? When if you just try something out, you may not realize how much you really love this thing. Yeah. I find that the charts are interesting for me. They're kind of hypnotizing sometimes.
It's such a beautiful thing. That's why I personally have my own trade setup. And I'm everyone's yo, it's goals, right? So I have it. I wake up. I'm did that trade hit TP? I'm oh yeah. All right, boom. Go back to sleep. And then just focus, let the whole day pass, and then resume back to where you left off. And it's just to the outside world, they're oh, it's just stakes going up and down. I was no, it's really interesting to how much you could make without anyone giving you a cap. Right. And it's such a beautiful thing. I would never get sick and tired. I'd probably be trading when I'm in my deathbed, just, right? Did it hit TP yet? Give me my iPhone. I want to hit TP one last time. Yeah, it's fun, and you don't need to be smart, and that is what a lot of people see from the outside. We don't need to be, knowing the statistics when it comes to numbers. No, it's very common sense. So, and it's good for everyone.
I agree. So I guess we'll just conclude the first podcast, first episode
first
here.
Podcast.
I mean, we could talk about this stuff all night long.
Yeah,
So.
I know. So, when you have me and Michael in the room, like, I know we had long talks, like, even when we had our sessions all night long, from 2 sessions to the next. So, like, but it's really good. I really want everyone to see this kind of viewpoint. I know since we've been trading for a while and have loss and wins, so comes
Like
really fun, so.
I always say, man, we ride together, we catch pips together.
Yeah.
So we do this thing.
That's what it is, and we are out.
All right.